Many diseases amongst humans are spread by direct contact with the disease onto the skin or another part of the anatomy, and then touching another person, being directly transferred. However, it's also possible for the disease to be transferred from the skin to an intermediate object and then again to a second person. Now, if you can minimise this indirect transfer of disease, you could have a serious impact on human health. But, other than continually sanitising every surface that might be touched, it seems initially little that can be done in this matter, especially in places like hospitals where it may have the greatest impact. However, there is an overlooked process called the oligodynamic effect that comes into play. Many metals, including gold, mercury and lead, display this property. However, these also come with their own problems of cost and other impacts on human health. Thankfully, these properties are also shown in iron and aluminium, but these only display the property in a rather weak manner. But it's more powerful in silver and more usefully in copper and copper alloys such as brass. The oligodynamic effect in general terms has been known about for centuries, well before scientists discovered the existence of bacteria. It is known that storing water in silver, copper or brass vessels meant that water would remain drinkable for far longer than it was placed in any other type of container. It does this by killing off the bacteria like E. coli, including those strains which have since become resistant to modern drugs. Now, the exact mechanism of its action isn't 100% clear, but it's thought that some of the metal ions from the container displace iron in the bacteria's RNA, and as a result inhibit the production of proteins needed for the bacteria to grow and to thrive. As a result, the bacteria go through a process called lipid peroxidation, which damages the cell membrane, and after a few hours it can kill the bacteria. There is, of course, like most things, some problems with this process. Firstly, it takes some time to work, with copper being the fastest acting metal that creates this effect. The other is that, of course, we're talking about bacteria, not viruses. So the living processes of viruses are completely different from bacteria. The oligodynamic effect has little or no impact on viruses. This does mean, however, that if the surfaces like doors are constantly being touched by hospital staff, patients or visitors, making those surfaces out of unvarnished copper could drastically reduce the number of infections which are indirectly spread about a hospital. Whilst this does not replace cleanliness and good health and hygiene routines, it could be a useful additional aid to improving healthcare. It would also be used in other locations where controlling the spread of infections might also be a significant factor. Things like offices or people's homes, many different locations could potentially benefit from this. So there we have the oligodynamic effect, noticed by Hippocrates over 2,000 years ago and still potentially useful today.